Welcome back, Daily Show. Sorry, I was just chatting it up with Rich before we got back onto the show. You know, Rich, you are one of the directors, you're board member of the Illinois State Rifle Association, and glad to have you on because, you know, this is one topic I would like to talk more about on the show as I feel like it definitely pertains to, you know, our area quite well. And coming up next week, you guys have a Grassroots meeting, and we'll just dive right into that in a couple of minutes. But right off the bat, let's go through the Illinois State Rifle Association and just inform our audience what you guys are all about.
Sure. Illinois State Rifle Association, you might think of it as kind of like a state level NRA or Gun Owners of America. Mm-hmm. Because we do a lot. I know that a lot of people think of us as only, you know, we're lobbying for gun rights, but there's a lot of education that we're putting out there. We're trying to train gun owners, trying to educate them. But, you know, we're also, you know, hosting a lot of competitions and different things like that to try to get people involved in the shooting sports. It's a great way to, you know, get people active and get them involved in something.
Well, I 100% agreed. And you know what I think is really cool just on that topic alone is seeing the area schools that have, you know, with their trap teams and just, you know, whether it's a trap team or you name it, they've had some really good shooters coming out of the area, which is kind of fun to watch too.
Yeah. And you know, it's kind of cool that there are a lot of colleges who are taking on the shooting sports. I actually just saw an ad the other day where Lindenwood is looking for a shotgun coach.
Oh, wow.
Full-time job as a shotgun coach, you know.
It's incredible.
So I think it's a great thing for kids to be involved in. Teaches them a lot.
Well, and, you know, with that, I like the approach that you all have because it's not just about legislative reforms. You know, education goes a long way. And, you know, the more familiar we can become with firearms and guns, you know, I feel like it's just like anything, the less scary it might become for so many people. And I think it's great how you guys do that. And, you know, with these meetings, too, it's a great way to stay informed and really just, I guess, get a taste of everything that you guys are working on and hear from the local side of things, too.
Yeah. You know, I've been a life member for a number of years, maybe 20 years with the ISRA.
Wow.
It's something that's very important to me. And, you know, I had been approached a few years ago about becoming a little bit more involved. And unfortunately, life took a little detour for me. And whenever I was kind of getting back into the swing of things this spring, I called Richard Pearson, who's the executive director, and said, hey, you know, I'd be really interested in serving on the board of directors. I would like to run for that. And so I'm really new to it, but I've got a lot of ideas. I've got a lot of friends who complain, you know, hey, they don't do anything in Southern Illinois. Well, we haven't had one of these grassroots meetings.
Yeah.
And so Scott Plasky at Piasa Armory is very, very nice to me and allowing us to have it there. And so our first speaker is going to be Richard Pearson, who is the executive director of the ISRA. Cool. He's going to drive down for it, and we're going to have him talk a little bit more in depth about what is going on with the legislative updates and kind of talk about the ISRA and our efforts to include Southern Illinois a little bit more, you know.
Very fascinating. Well, and not to cut you off, but, you know, Illinois especially, you know, with some of the things that have, you know, gone on with, you know, gun laws lately, I'm sure there's been a lot of not only confusion, but a lot of just, you know, maybe just anger, too, you know, just because of the way that it's, you know, the law's being interpreted or you name it. And, you know, to hear some of the efforts that are, you know, being made, too, it would be promising, I think, for so many people to know that, you know, there are, you know, advocates out there pushing for this reform and these changes.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
You know, I'm kind of piggybacking on that. One of my best friends, we went to the police academy together with each other, and great guy, big gun guy. And whenever I talk to him about the ISRA, he's like, I'm not joining them until they get rid of the FOID card. I'm not going to join them until they get rid of the assault weapons ban. And I'm like, you know, this is the group that's doing it all. They're the ones that are paying for all the lawsuits, and we're a small group, and we need everybody involved. And, you know, if somebody's on the fence about joining ISRA, I really hope that they will come in Wednesday and talk to us or reach out to me.
That's a great point, Rich. I mean, you're right, because you're only going to be the change is only going to come the more the train's able to move and the more people you have it's a heck of a lot easier to keep moving the ball down the line too.
Yeah.
Very interesting. Well, and to have it at Piasa Armory, I think it's really fitting because Scott does a lot for the community and some really cool community events, and also I think it's fair to say has become the go-to spot when it comes to those type of purchases and self-defense materials and all those type of items too.
Yeah. I know he's getting some of my money every now and then. So I don't know.
Take me through what you've learned so far. Just in your role. I know you said it's only been a short period of time, but take me through some of the conversations. What have you learned about just some of the inner workings and some of the work the group does?
They've got a wonderful range facility up in Bonfield, and every week they've got something going on. Cool. They've got competitions, and it isn't just like the bullseye pistol shoots. They've got some. They're entering air pistol season. They're going to have air rifles, air pistols. They're doing shotguns. They're doing rifles. There's so many different ways and levels to compete. As a new board member, one of my goals is to have a statewide combat pistol championship.
Wow!
And what I'm hoping to do, I have a course of fire that I've got to kind of get all the measurements laid out. But I want something that can be repeatable in like 20 different ranges across the state. And so if you win, you advance to the state championship at the ISRA range.
That's cool.
And I'd love to have, like 2 different levels. Like if you've never shot USPSA or IDPA, then you're in this. I've shot that, so we're going to be in this. So we're not going to compete head to head. I've got an advantage.
That's great. Yeah, that's the experience levels.
Yeah.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, and I just think it's really cool to hear just some of that, because I didn't even think about the educational component or like you said, some of the activities and some of these really cool tournaments and opportunities and events that go on just throughout the weeks. At the facilities. That's great to hear about.
Yeah.
And now, so if someone joins, do they automatically get access to that facility or that range, or how does that work?
Now, you can go up there and visit, but I believe after so many visits, you do have to buy a membership into the range itself.
Okay.
But the main thing when you're buying a membership into ISRA is that you are supporting all the legislative
efforts.
Yeah. All these court cases that we're fighting for your rights, that's coming from the ISRA. I don't see the NRA filing these lawsuits. I don't see them funding them. I know that Second Amendment Foundation, GOA, some of these other folks are, attaching a brief onto lawsuits that the ISRA is funding.
Wow.
But it is the ISRA.
That's interesting. And one, it's great for the public to know that too. And just going back to what we talked about earlier, if someone's, saying, hey, I really don't want to be a part of this until, these are changed or we see this reform. Well, it takes a train to move it. And going back to that, and it's good to know that you guys are the ones that are, or the group collectively, filing these and really pushing for those changes and pushing for those rights.
Yeah, it's a lot harder pushing a rock uphill on your own.
Yeah, that's for sure.
The more friends you have, the easier it gets.
Really fascinating. Well, take me back to this Grassroots meeting. What time does it start again?
We are going to start at 6:30. And I know on Piasa's website they close at 6, but the doors are going to remain open so we can get people in. And, like I said, Richard Pearson is going to be our guest speaker. He is the executive director of the Illinois State Rifle Association. And we're going to be able to invite more speakers as we go. But we're going to have some drawings for Illinois State Rifle Association members who are in attendance. And we're also going to be able to sign you up.
Really
right
cool.
There. Yeah.
That's what I was going to ask you, if there was open to the public and all of that as well.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Fantastic. Is there any admittance fee to?
None. No.
This is cool. Jim, want to take a quick break?
Sure.
Let's do it. Hey, it's 9:26, a little bit of change. We'll come back and talk with Rich more about the Illinois State Rifle Association and that Grassroots meeting. It's set for 6:30 p.m. at Piasa Armory. This is great to be a part of, and really some good material that's going to be in there too. We'll come back with more next. With over over 20 years of experience, Wilson's Tree Service has the expertise to handle all of your tree care needs. Licensed and fully insured, their team of experts are dedicated to providing reliable service. Plus, with a 24-hour emergency service line, Wilson's will always be there for you. Don't risk tackling that timber by yourself. Trust the local professionals at Wilson's Tree Service. Visit treeservicealtonil.org to get started today.
Discover Del Mar Public House, located in Godfrey's historic Clifton Schoolhouse. Enjoy bold flavors like homemade falafel, fish and chips, and rotating pasta favorites. Relax with local beers, half-price wine bottles, and summer poutine nights. The only thing missing is you. Open Wednesday through Sunday. Del Mar Public House, where great food, drinks, and friends come together. DelMarPublicHouse.com.
Do you need to declutter your space? Time to call me, the Queen of Junk. Since 1993, we have grown to be the leader in residential, commercial, and property management junk removal. At Sparks Junk Removal, we are eco-friendly. We recycle, donate, or repurpose items back into our community. Trash is our last resort to the landfill. Plus, with our all-inclusive service, our crews handle everything from labor to lifting and landfill fees. Give us a call or visit our website, sparksjunkremoval.net, to reclaim your space today.
When I got in the car accident at the ER, they gave me a prescription of hydrocodone. And over time, it took more medication to mask the pain. I moved over to drug seeking and found heroin and fentanyl. I went to the Centerstone rehab facility, and it was the best decision I ever made in my life. I have my own car, I have a job, there's nothing holding me back anymore.
When you need a project done right, on budget and on time, trust Gillahan Concrete. Gillahan handles every kind of project, big and small. Commercial, industrial, residential, from room additions and garages to patios, driveways, and more. Gillahan brings quality and experience to every job. Family owned with over 30 years of service to our community. Call today at 618-781-3914 or visit GillahanConcrete.com.
Accidents happen in a heartbeat, but lives change forever. Whether it's a car crash, workplace injury, medical malpractice, or wrongful death, you don't have to face the consequences alone. Keith Short and Associates brings over 33 years of experience and a reputation for fighting fiercely for your rights. For relentless representation that you can trust, call Keith Short and Associates at 618-254-0055 today for a free consultation.
You're listening to Our Daily Show with CJ Nasello on RiverBender.com.
I ain't afraid of no ghosts. I ain't afraid of no ghosts. Seeing things.
Welcome back, Daily Show 929. Coming up November 5th. It is crazy. November 5th is next week. I mean, that is nuts to me.
It's flying by. It really is.
It's weird. Once you get to October, it's like the end of the year is here before we know it. Well, and now you guys have the opportunity. Doors open at 6:15 p.m. Wednesday, November 5th. The meeting at 6:30, and that's at Piasa Armory. And where are they located at, Rich? Just for
they're out there in the old Eastgate Plaza on Lewis and Clark Boulevard.
I forgot. I keep thinking about their old location.
Yeah. This is a really super nice facility. If you haven't been in there,
Scott's done an awesome job.
Yeah.
Well, and now this is the first meeting to introduce the chapter's leadership team. This is really a brand new Grassroots chapter for Madison County. This is really a big deal.
Yeah. I was tired of hearing people complain we don't have anything in our area.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of Grassroots meetings up north, shall we say, but we haven't had anything around here. And so as a new board member, one of my goals was to get this going. And, we aren't going to have one in December because of the holidays and everything, but I'm hoping we can pick that up in January. I haven't gotten the details like who we're going to have as speaker and everything. But I'm hoping that it isn't going to be something just on the legislative side every month. I'm hoping that maybe one month I can teach like a dry fire program.
Oh, that'd be cool.
You know?
Yeah.
Get some guys in who are into shotgun sports. I've got a good friend across the river who's big in IDPA. Let him come in and talk about his IDPA shoots.
Really
but,
cool.
the idea is just talk about the firearms. And
I love this is going to be awesome. I love to see this grow because you're right. There's not a lot, down here for that. And it's interesting and not, in a way that it correlates ever to, how the state functions, but it's just, the up north conversation,
Yeah. Every time that I have traveled and I'm big into guns
right.
and shooting. And every time somebody asks me, where are you from? I'm from Illinois. Oh, man, I'm sorry. Why? Illinois has a great gun culture.
Yeah.
And I know that sounds kind of weird, but you get south of I-80 and you look at all the 2A businesses that are here in the state of Illinois. What would Alton area be without Olin?
Right.
I've got a picture of my grandpa working at Olin in 1929.
Mm-hmm.
Think about just the hunting industry here. I grew up in Carrollton. It's a big industry. So if you have a hunter coming into your community, they're paying for the tags, paying for that, but they're paying for a place to stay. They're paying for food. They're paying for things to do when they're not hunting. It is a huge economic boost.
Well, and Rich, you know this better than I do, but once you get a hunter that likes a spot, you're going to see them for 30 years.
Yeah.
They're going to keep coming back until until the door isn't open and no more. And I think that's a really good point to make too. It's just really fascinating though how that always comes back. And what I think's cool is you're really lined up perfect for this role because of just all and not patronizing you, but just all the things that you've done in your career. The connections have really got to make it a lot more fun too to be in this role because you can actually achieve some things with your phone.
Yeah. I would love to start teaching again. I'm healthy again, and I'd like to do that.
Awesome.
I went back to competing a little bit this summer and shooting USPSA.
How's that going for you?
It was kind of tough, not shooting for a few years. And, I went for about a year without having any feeling in my hands.
That's right. Yeah.
And I'm back to feeling normal in my hands. So I'm happy. It's kind of full circle, so to speak. And I really want to pour myself into the ISRA and try to help other folks.
Well, I think, too, we were talking during the break. I would love to see, area school districts, reach out to the group and not necessarily to talk about, legislative reform to fifth graders, but to, have that educational component and talk about firearms from a reputable group of experience. That's great.
Yeah. Well, like I said, guns is now a 4-letter word in a lot of places. And I think that if we could have that conversation, let's sit down, with some kids. If a school wants to have me come in and talk to a government class or whatever, I'm more than happy to do it.
That'd be cool.
I'm a retired guy. So
that means you work for free.
Yeah. I'm more than happy to do that. I'm willing to come in and talk about it, from the police officer side and also from, a regular citizen. Yeah. But also as an ISRA board member, I'm willing to talk about that. And I know that I've been substitute teaching a lot lately. And, there's some kids.
Where at?
Mostly up in Carrollton.
Oh, cool. Okay.
And it works out great because my parents live right next door to the school. So I can slip over there and have lunch with my parents.
Cool, man.
Let mom cook for me, But I'm more than happy to do anything that I can to educate.
I just think it would be great. A really great opportunity just to start having the conversation, again, and with anything, the younger you can have that conversation, the easier it is to bridge that gap later on in life. And I just think it's really, really cool. And another thing too, we talked 2 years ago, probably now. It's been a while. Yeah. You've been able to do some cool stuff with it, like the TV show and analyze it, where you can bring in even a different component to it, that I think's really cool to this.
Yeah, that TV show was very unique. Those of you who never saw it, is called Stop the Threat. And I wish I could take credit for thinking it up. I was not that smart. James Toll got the idea. But, he would take real life crimes that were stopped, sometimes stopped by folks who were armed. And, there was a panel of experts, I was one of them, that we would watch this and kind of talk about what we think they did right or what they did wrong. And that was a very unique show that I thought was exceptional in the educational benefits.
Yeah.
And I wish that we could do some more of that.
That would be so cool. And to me, I just wanted to throw that out there because, you have so many different, traits to this where you can come in and talk to a school that, on top of the association, you can add those components in for different class or tailor make them for whatever group you need to speak to. And getting back into this, bring a friend, November the 5th, 6:15 is the door opening. Meeting begins at 6:30, but you guys are kicking off with a really great speaker. He's the executive director, correct, of the association?
Yes. Yeah. He's got a wealth of knowledge. I really hope that people will come and interact. Mm-hmm. And, if you're on the fence about joining, come in, see what it's about.
How much does it cost to join? Do you mind me asking?
I think the dues are going to go up shortly to $55 a year.
That's it?
Well,
I know I shouldn't say it, but to me, that's less than $5 a month.
Yeah. And I know that there are going to be some people that complain, but like we were talking, unfortunately, we are a small organization.
Yeah.
There are approximately 2 million FOID card holders here in the state, and we don't even have 10% of those.
That's incredible.
In
all the wrong way. I mean, think about it. If you had 25 or even 35% going up that much, you guys could really just achieve so much. You'd be able to move the ball a lot further down the field than what's happening right now, too. Man.
We've got to get the membership. We've got to get those young people in, especially.
And then just for the folks that are interested in the meeting, how long is it going to last, you think?
We're shooting for an hour.
Okay.
But you know what? If you want to stand out in the parking lot and ask me questions, I'm willing to stay there all night if you want.
Really cool. This is going to take place at Piasa Armory. That's 625 Lewis and Clark Boulevard in East Alton. Meeting begins at 6:30. The doors open at 6:15, Wednesday, November the 5th. This is the first... the kickoff really of the Madison County Grassroots chapter, and a really big deal. I think it's great that more's coming down here, like you said, and you've lived it. To have this representation is really cool.
Yeah. And that'd be a great time to come in a little bit early. Say get there between 5 and 6, and order some Christmas presents.
That is exactly right. Nothing says a stocking stuffer like a new scope.
Yeah.
And tell Scott that we all said hi when you go down there and see him. And it's great that they provide that space, and he did. That's cool.
Yeah.
Anything else to talk about before we say goodbye for now, Rich?
I'll tell you what, we can save it for another day. How's that?
That sounds good. We'll link everything in a RiverBender.com article. You can learn more by going to the Facebook event page. It's called Madison County Grassroots Meeting. It's by the Illinois State Rifle Association. You can also learn more by going to IllinoisStateRifleAssociation.com, and you can also click on the link in the event article. It will take you to how you can become a member today. That's really cool stuff. Thanks, Rich.
Thank you.
Take a quick break, wrap up we still got time. I'll come back and chat with you more next.